G'day everyone, Michael at Battle Bunker. Just going to do a quick product review of these Army Painter brushes. This is their small dry brush. So you can see it's a dry brush. It's got these angled bristles on it. And it's fairly small. Now I've been using a privateer press dry brush for a while, their tank dry brush, which is pretty good. I haven't used one of these before, so I'm going to give it a go because I'm doing some models where I don't really have a dry brush small enough to use on them. As you can see, the bristles on this brush have an angle on them. If you brush this way, there's quite a bit of give, but if you do it on the flat edge, they're fairly stiff. So obviously you're going to be able to get a couple of different techniques out of this dry brush. I'll be curious to see how this angled approach works. Let's give it a go. So this is one of the new white lions that GW sent us in our black box. These models aren't out quite yet. As you see, they're quite nice. I've already dry brushed the back here on this coat, so that's been brown with a brown ink, and then I've dry brushed a P3 colour called Hammerfall Khaki onto it just to get that brown highlight. And I used this brush. This is my P3 dry brush. As you can see, this brush is enormous, so not really appropriate for what I want to do next. So what I want to do is dry brush these shoulder pads. I just want to highlight up to a white on those. So I need a smaller brush because otherwise I'm going to hit the rest of this model. And I probably want to try and get a bit more of this helmet as well. So we're pretty non-denominational when it comes to paint down here at the Battle Bunker. Myself, I prefer the Formula P3 paints. I do use a lot of Citadel colours. I use a few Vallejo paints as well, and some various mixes, Yo Sonia, texture paste and all that sort of stuff. But for my main paint range, I prefer the Formula P3s. So this is Morrow White. It's their standard white colour, and I'm just going to give that a go. So these pots, the lid eventually tends to break off. I actually quite like it because it gives you a little palette. So get this new dry brush. For those of you who don't know about dry brushing, you want to get some paint on the end of your brush, like so. Then on a bit of paper towel, something like that, you want to brush a lot of that paint off. So you want to get rid of as much as you possibly can. Now with white it's a bit hard to tell, but often you just do a bit of a brush on the back of your hand. You probably can't see it on the camera there, but that is putting a bit of white on my hand, but not too much, so it's not too bad. So we'll give that a go on the model. We want to go in one direction, so we want to sort of brush down. And I reckon for this platinum colour that I'm brushing onto, I've probably taken too much of the white off my dry brush. So I'm just going to put a bit more back on. That's right. So I've got a bit more white on the brush now.
Oh no, that's his money.
Don't take my money.
That's his money. That's not Rodriguez.
So that's a lot better. So I'm finding there is quite a bit of control in this brush. It's doing what I want it to do. I'm just highlighting the edge of this with a bit of a dry brush. I'm just going to go on these armour plates down here as well. The bristles on this dry brush are fairly stiff, I'm finding. They could do to be a little bit softer probably. Although to be fair to the brush, I haven't given a good rinse or anything, so there may be some sort of agent from the manufacturing process that's still in the bristles that I probably need to wash out. That's doing a pretty good job actually. I'm just picking up on this axe head, just picking up all this detail on the sort of Celtic knotwork there. That's come up fairly nice with the dry brush without going in down under where I don't want it to go. It's only just picking up on the edges here, which is exactly what I want it to do. Just a bit of an experiment here. I'm going to do the same thing on the Celtic knotwork, but I'm going to use some black paint. We'll just see how much splash over I get. So you can see there, very little of the black paint still on the bristles. There's just a little bit. As you can see, that's really dulled that back down again. So I'm just going to hit it with the white again to take it back up to where I want it. Alright, so here we can see the curse of the dry brush. If I try and put white paint back on this now that I have black on it. It's just gone grey. So what I'm going to have to do is wash the dry brush and then wait for a good half hour till the bristles dry out again before I can highlight this back up. So that's just a brief little product demo of this brush. I think it was quite good. Probably in the comments later on, I'll probably use this brush for the rest of the day, use it for a few different things, and I'll just whack in the comments maybe some more information about it once I've used it a little bit more. Alright, so we're back again. I've just got another model here that I've just undercoated and put a bit of ink on and stuff. I'm going to try dry brushing white again just to see how that goes on a different colour. So yeah, you can see that on this colour where I've got a good contrast, the dry brush has worked quite nicely. I probably had a bit much paint when I was doing this bit here, so it's gone a bit too white. It's really nicely picked up the detail there, so this dry brush is pretty good. See, it's just nicely picking up the edges there on the stonework. So for a quick 10-minute test of this dry brush, I reckon it's pretty good.
That's right.
Thank you. White on the brush now.
No, that's his money.
Don't take my money.